I just finished reading a book called Running the Amazon about a group of, I don't know what it was at the beginning, maybe 6, 7 people who started rafting and kayaking at the source of the Amazon in the Peruvian Andes. And it ended up that 2 of them made it to the very end of the Amazon, where it empties into the Atlantic Ocean in Brazil. In some ways, it's a fascinating book. Unlike many books, it held me to the end. Though as the book went on, I became troubled by it. I wasn't quite sure why. I think it was that I didn't like the author's personality, but the adventures that they were having were fascinating. I've also been to quite a few of the places they mentioned in the book. I ended up riding a boat actually a few different boats up the Amazon from Brazil all the way to Colombia. And so it means something to me personally, though what I went through was absolutely nothing compared to the difficulty and danger and stress that these guys and one woman at various parts of the adventure went through. So I really take my hat off to them. They were brave, foolhardy sometimes perhaps, but the adventure was fascinating. But what made me want to come and do this video review was something I read pretty much near the end of the book that summed up for me, or helped me understand why I was so turned off by the author, and in a way by the other adventurers. There was something about them that was impersonal, like they didn't really care that much about people, about humanity, about their own inner selves. So this half a page that I'd like to read sums it up pretty well, and I'll explain the little few parts that might not make so much sense. Pardon me. This is in western Brazil. They're catching a boat for a few days because they're ill and not feeling well. They can't kayak for 3 days. They're catching a boat to the city of Manaus, actually, which I visited 6 years ago and couch surfed in. I had a great time there. I also caught a boat there, but from the other direction. So the captain, this Brazilian captain, Edison, and his first mate, Miguel, were large, swarthy, middle-aged caboclos. I guess that means like rivermen, boatmen. And, like most I'd met, confident and imperturbable. A trio of young boys scrambled about the legs of these giants, mopping the brandao, that's the name of the boat's deck, cleaning the boat's galleys, greasing the engine. When they had finished, Edison, the captain, fired up a generator that roared so loudly we could not hear one another even when we shouted. The generator's sole function was to power a television. Though we were too far from anywhere to pick up a signal, the boys sat before the set, the TV set, transfixed, as if desire alone could pull an image from the snow-white screen. The crew's last member, and the Brandao's jewel, was Maria, a dark beauty who claimed to be 18, but looked a mature 15. On her small shelf in the stern, she kept a tidy collection of cheap jewelry, dolls, perfume bottles, deck shoes, and a pair of shiny cobalt blue pumps. And beneath the shelf, a hamper of skirts and blouses. I took her to be Edison's daughter. Until that evening, when the charged grunts issuing from the stern quarters she shared with Edison suggested otherwise. Not dissimilar grunts rose from the mosquitero, that means I think the little bed area that was covered by mosquito netting, that Miguel shared with the 3 boys. Then, the next paragraph starts, the 3-day run to Manaus was a kind of holiday. What? So this middle-aged, big, strong, swarthy sea captain is having sex with a girl who is probably 15, and his first mate, who is also big, strong, and middle-aged, is having sex with 3, as they call them, a trio of young boys. And this author, Joe Kane, doesn't say anything about it. And he's on the boat with another fellow, his other fellow kayaker, who he presents as this brave man who's willing to stand up and fight at the first thing. Anybody does anything, he's willing to fight. They're fighting for their lives constantly, but here are these two people raping children. They can hear it happening, and they don't say anything. Now, this book was published in 1989, so one might say, it was a different time. And in a way, it was a different time, because you could get away with writing that stuff back then. Not that long ago, actually. That was the year that I started writing in my journal. And I remember the movies from the 80s. There was more stuff along these lines that you could get away with saying uncritically. But the fact is, they knew it was wrong, and he's kind of joking about it, writing about it humorously. Not dissimilar grunts rose from the bed Miguel shared with the three boys. So this guy is having sex with three young boys, and it's like, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't care. And then the next line, that kills me. The 3-day run to Manaus, this big city, was a kind of holiday. So he enjoyed it. He slept well. He didn't care. Now, I don't know how he could be proud of himself. What kind of adventure is that? They can stand up for themselves when people try to bother them and take their stuff. But when they're hearing rape of children going on, they say nothing. And that put into perspective this book for me, and how I felt about the whole book, that it's a self-aggrandizing book. It's boasting. It's bragging. These guys are sharing how tough and strong they are, but only insofar as it relates to them. They're not taking a stand for any deeper purpose or deeper issues, and they're only running the whole Amazon, boating the whole Amazon in a way to brag and make money and become famous. He's doing it to write a book. That's the only reason he was invited along, and he didn't even seem to enjoy it that much. Now, for me, it was a study of how much people can put up with and suffer to meet a goal, because they put up with so much diseases and illnesses and horrible conflicts between the people and stress and having guns pointed at them. In a way, this is metaphorical for me, for my own journey of healing from childhood trauma, child abuse, being violated and taken advantage of, and me regaining myself, grieving. I mean, in a way, my life is kind of like running the Amazon. But this book is just a metaphor for that. It's not it, as shown by those few short paragraphs. And that's, well, that's why I don't take this book to be anything more than an interesting metaphor.